going to introduce Brian Sapp, Director of Developer Partnerships from Tapjoy. Give Brian a hand.
You guys hear me? You guys hear me on this thing? No? Okay. Check. Hello?
Turn it on.
Check. Now, can you hear me? There you go. All right. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming to the first ever battle round at Casual Connect. This is basically where 2 people enter and 1 man leaves. So it's to the death. Or actually, 1 man leaves with this little trophy. But today we're going to end the debate on an age-old question wherever business and artists align. What's more important, design or marketing? Art or commerce? One of our contestants will be vying on the side of pure game design, while the other will be arguing for the importance of marketing and business and how those factors should influence game design. The questions today's contestants are battling over are questions developers ask themselves all the time, especially in this new mobile free-to-play world where developers can release a game on their own with no publishers and hit hundreds of millions of users through the App Store. The battle will be comprised of 8 to 10 questions with more or less depending on time. And we may open up some questions to you guys, so brainstorm any questions you may want to ask them as we go. Each opponent will have about a minute, and the other opponent will have about a minute to respond with some rebuttals in between. At the end of every round, you guys are going to vote on the winner. So you guys each have a blue voting thing for the marketing guru, and you guys each have a red thing for the game design guru. At the end of the entire contest, the winner will leave alive and with this little trophy. Okay. So without further ado, and we're having some more technical issues. Give me 1 second. Hey, no. Don't egg on the crowd yet.
It's actually pink, not red. Just saying.
All right, there we go. Whoops, that's not which way I wanted to go.
Just click on.
Okay. Yep, thank you.
It was fine just a minute ago.
Sorry. You guys notice how puny I am in that picture, right? All right, there we go. So without further ado, thank you. I want to introduce our contestants. On the gaming guru side, we have Tom Hess, who is a mobile game producer, and he's worked in console and mobile for his entire career. And then on the marketing side, we have Eyal Rabinovich, who is the founder of the casual gaming publishing company, PlayScape. It's a serious business, people. Okay. My name is spelled with 1 N, by the way. All right, so we spent $20,000 on that video. Is that worth it? Just tell me that was worth it. Okay, thank you. Clearly, I'm not a marketing guy. All right, so now we're just going to jump right into it. So we know at most gaming companies, the guys with their heads down making the game are pretty much focused on one thing, making that game as good as it can be, typically building it in their own interests. And then that company has a marketing department whose job is to get it out to the masses, and sometimes those guys are interfering or influencing game design. So the first question I wanted to ask the contestants, and remember this is for life or death, is do game marketers ruin games? Tommy, you can take the first one.
Well, before I answer that question, I'll talk about the first time I ever had an interaction with the marketing team. I was a level designer for a game called Medal of Honor about 10 years ago, and we were building the level that was going to be the demo level at E3. We were crunching at that time, so we were working 7 days a week, 12-hour days. And about 3 days before E3, I got this email from the marketing team, and they'd taken screenshots of my level and circled different areas on the map and said, place red barrel here, so that when players shot the red barrel, it would have an explosion. So I was confused at why marketing was sending me an email telling me what to put in my level. So I took a screenshot of the Yahoo homepage, and I put circles, and then I put arrows, and I said, place ad here, and I responded to them, and I got in a lot of trouble. So do game marketers ruin games? Not really, but they can be a pain in the butt, and they can ask for things that they don't understand how long it takes to do, or so they can deter or make a game worse, or make the development team focus on things that aren't as important, and that meddling comes in. So sometimes I guess they can ruin games if they meddle too much with the design's actual implementation.
So I was a software developer when we started raising funds for PlayScape, and I had no marketing experience at the time. And we struggled. Our presentations were not good. Our messaging was not crystallized, and I really think that the investors at the time didn't really understand what it is that we're doing, what makes it valuable, and why they should invest money in the company. And that was the first time I really understood what good marketing work can do for your business, and how it can help you communicate the value of your product and the services to your potential clients. Now, the idea that marketing ruins games is an illogical fallacy for two main reasons. And the first one is that marketing is only a mean, it's never an end. It's a tool used in order to serve the business targets and goals of the company. So the marketing plan is in fact those goals broken down into doable steps. If you don't like the marketing plan, it means that the goals that we set to begin with were not good, or that you just simply disagree with the target audience. But the marketeers are always only the messengers. The second reason is that without marketing and business goals, there would be no developing house, and the development teams will perish. Now, I know that games are a form of art and they have to be treated that way, but we have to be able to balance between what ideally we would like to do and what can be realistically done, what we love doing, and what our target audience would love to see. Because, after all, we are not the center of the universe, and I think that marketing can really help us understand a little bit better what is.
Okay. So now I leave it up to you to decide who won that battle. Let's get the votes on.
Come on, red.
I see blue. I see.
This is who it goes to.
Woo!
First punch has been thrown, fellas.
Boo.
You better step it up, Tom.
All right.
Many have pointed to Zynga's data-driven approach as a failure to iterate and drive games that are pushing the boundaries. At the design concept phase, what should come first? Business plan or game design? Who should lead the way? Eyal, you go first.
So, ideally, both should lead the way. I think that in reality, sometimes, more than often, we have some disagreement. So I want to talk about the problems that we encounter as game developers and as game marketeers. You know, there are more than 700,000 applications today on Google Play and on the Apple App Stores. I think that today it's even more. And a very small fragment of those applications actually get discovered. We're talking about 5% of the applications that actually get more than 50,000 downloads, and less than 1% get more than 500,000 downloads. Now, I'm going to let these numbers sink for a second. Only 1%, that's 7,000 applications alone, get more than 500,000 downloads. And let me tell you something about this number. I mean, 500,000 downloads per application is definitely a nice number, but it's not enough sometimes. To top that all off, even a small fraction of the applications get to monetize. So, you know, game developers are struggling, and it's not becoming any easier today. I've been going around the conference, and I think there's a really sad sensation here. I mean, for the first time in our industry, I really feel like something bad is going on. And yeah, that was my feeling. And, you know, we are talking about two main challenges. The first one is discoverability, and the second one is monetization. These are actually business goals. So I'm not trying to say in any way that they are more important than quality, innovation, and design, because they're not. But if you ask me who should lead the way, my answer would be, in every industry, every business, marketing should, and business should. And you know, I'm an entrepreneur, and I have many entrepreneur friends, and I don't know if you know that, but Israel is actually the startup nation. And over the years, I've seen many of them close down their doors, sadly, big companies and small companies. And you know what is the number one reason for those businesses to stop running? I mean, what's the main reason? It's not because their products are not good. It's because they just run out of money. So if it was your company, your business, or your studio, in whose hands would you put it? A dev dude?
The dev dude.
I'm not so sure.
All right, thanks. Tommy, your rebuttal?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously development should lead the way. It's really hard to make a hit game. You know, if you think about it, what we talk about at DeNA and talked about at EA a lot was there's really three things that go into making a hit game. You got to have a market that wants that content, which is where marketing would come in. You need to innovate somehow. You have to separate yourself from other games out there. And you have to have flawless execution. So you got to build the game correctly. You got to make sure your tools are correct, which marketing teams cannot make decisions on what tools you're gonna use, how you're gonna build it. All that needs to come into play, and you need to understand what the design of the game is gonna be before you can start determining what tools you're gonna need. So in order to build a game, you have to know it has to come from the development team. You're not going to know your budget unless you know what you're building. So going out and finding a marketing guy to get an idea to you is not going to tell you how to build this game. So I think so much goes into the development of a game, trying to make it successful, that it has to come from the people that are making the game, and they need to make the decision on how it's going to go, and they need to make the decisions on the design playing the game. So I would say development should lead the way always, with input from marketing.
Okay, great answers from both. Vote. No hanging chads this time. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I'm on the board.
All right. Good job. All right, so there's been a lot of talk over the years, especially in mobile, about large companies with massive budgets spending their way to success at the expense of smaller developers. The reality is often more complex, but there's no denying that marketing has been a big part of successful gaming companies in a very competitive market. Can a great game succeed without marketing? And vice versa, can a great marketing make a lackluster game succeed? So I guess I'll go to Tommy first on this one.
Can a great game succeed without marketing? Yes. A lot of great games have succeeded without marketing. I think the best proven tool for a successful game is word of mouth. That's the strongest form of marketing. So if someone finds a great game, it can grow and it can become viral and it can be successful. It is hard to do it that way, and it doesn't happen a lot. And as we're seeing the App Store get more and more crowded, it's going to be harder and harder to have that kind of success naturally, but it will. Can marketing make a lackluster game succeed? Maybe in the short term. You can pay a lot of money to get on the top free charts and see if your game's going to do well, but if it's a bad game, people are not going to want to play it. You're fighting for people's time with these games, and if you don't have a good game, people are not going to stick around. So using marketing to get a bad game into the charts is just a short-term gain.
Great. Eyal?
And so, I think this question actually represents the power of perception. And I think this specific perception really resides within all the changes that you see in the distribution channels lately. We've moved quite quickly from floppy disks to CDs to online stores and streaming. And in the past, it was very easy to understand why we need the help of marketing in order to become successful. It's really hard to get to all the Best Buys in the world, in every country and in every continent. And it's much harder to understand why you need the help of marketing in order to just distribute your game on an app store that is available for everybody. The smashing success, by the way, of games like Angry Birds and Cut a Rope and Temple Run that were created by small-scale studios make us all believe that anyone can make it, whether they are big or small, and I think the internet is packed with supportive evidence like the Flurries report that shows that the independent game developers are becoming more and more dominant on those app stores. But nobody talks about how many developers fail, because talking about failures makes us all very much depressed. And the sad truth behind the number is that the majority of developers that try to make it without marketing spends fail. In fact, the number is so small that it is statistically insignificant, which means that no game can virtually make it without any marketing spends. And it's very easy to be confused by that. So for that question, I would definitely say that although what we think is happening, the reality shows us that you have to have some marketing if you want to have some chances for your game to succeed.
Okay. Yeah, just to add to that, I think we've seen like a massive switch over the last couple years where 2010, 2009 in the App Store, it was spending to get to the top of the charts, and it was kind of like, let's throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. Now, people are building games that retain users, because all that matters now is top grossing charts, right? So if you're not retaining users and making money, it doesn't matter. So I think because of that, the spends have switched. But anyway, just adding some in color. So let's go ahead and vote. Now you got their answers.
Red. Oh.
Oh, that goes to blue.
Oh.
You got a problem with the ref here?
Yeah, I do. I want to recount.
You can appeal to the state of California. All right. The app stores are beginning to hit many different genres, and each one targets a specific set of users. For example, slots and bingo games target older female players, and these games have been proven to be lucrative. Card collecting games from the Japanese market and now Western markets like DeNA are proving to hit younger males who monetize extremely well. And even games like casual games like Candy Crush obviously have brought in a ton of users and a ton of money. So as a game designer, is it better to build for a proven market that's already shows it's successful? Or should you build from your own interest, what you think is cool as an artist? So I'll go to Eyal on this one first.
I think this actually, one of the biggest mistakes that developers do is try to make something that they like and love without getting the facts right. I mean, I see it all the time. You build your product and your family loves it, your mom loves it, your friends like it, you fall in love with it, and then you launch your game and, I mean, poof, nothing happens, nobody uses it, and then all those questions starts to rise. I mean, what's the size of your market? What's your target audience? Did you build your game around these characteristics? And all those questions that we have to start asking ourselves before we start developing the game. And when you get to that point, it's usually just too late. So of course, you have to build and to do something that you love in your life. I mean, I hope this is why we are all here. I mean, we love playing games, we love creating games, and we love being in this industry. But when it goes down to how you should start and what you should concentrate from the get-go, I would say that you have to have your facts right, do your proper market research, and then start doing the things that you love.
Okay.
I think you should do something you love. I've made games that the subject matter I was not into, and while I worked hard on the game and felt I did a good job, I wasn't as passionate as games that I care about. So, for example, I'm working on a Transformers game right now, and I loved Transformers as a kid. My mom mailed me all my toys from when I was a kid when she found out I was working on it. And that added passion, I feel comes out in the game more. We'll be on calls with Hasbro to review the art, and then they'll look at a character that we've drawn and say that that's good enough, and then I'll look at it and be like, man, that character was my favorite growing up as a kid. We're gonna redo it. That's not good enough. And they're like, oh, okay. So I mean, we go that extra step, and if you're passionate about what you're doing, you're gonna work harder, and it's gonna show in the game. So I think you should do something that you love, not just something that you think is gonna make money, and hopefully that thing that you make that you do love will eventually make money. But I think that you should definitely make sure you're interested in it before you do it. I mean, I wouldn't want to make a game, a My Little Pony game, because I'm not really interested in My Little Pony, but...
Are you lying about that?
I have a My Little Pony shirt on underneath this one. But so, I mean, you should be interested in it. And if you're not, maybe it's not the right thing. But I think it should come from an interest.
Okay, great answers. All right, let's get a vote. All right.
Yeah.
Goes to red. Man, is it 2-2? 2-2. 2-2. All right. All right, so as we try to bridge these two important sides of the business, what's the biggest misconception around game design? And that would be for Tommy. And then what's the biggest misconception around marketing for Eyal? Why don't you go first?
All right. Well, I think the biggest misconception is the role of a developer has changed as the market changes. So in the console world, you made a game, they burn it onto a disc, and a couple months later it came out, and marketing really drove how the game worked. So developers didn't really have to worry about marketing at all. But now with mobile, while you're building the game, developers have to now start understanding how marketing works, and the developers themselves have to understand that. And I think that is happening. So as you talk to people in the mobile industry making games now, they all have an understanding of what's going on with the game. When I worked at EA on a console game, we didn't discuss budgets or revenue targets or anything like that, or with the developers. And now, every morning we all get together and we look at, what are our targets? What are we trying to do? What KPIs are we trying to hit? How many users did we get? What's our retention rate? Where are we losing those users? So developers need to become much more savvy about what marketing does and have an understanding about it and care. So I think the biggest misconception is that developers now don't know anything about marketing, but I think that's changing, and successful game teams, the team themselves has a better understanding of what marketing is and what marketing does than ever before.
Great. Eyal?
Well,
What's the biggest misconception about marketing?
I think that the biggest misconception about marketing is the way people see marketing and publishers. And I mean, the thing is, some developers and players seem to portray marketeers as a necessary evil. And although I do think that we should ask ourselves whether we need marketing in an age where developers can self-publish, I mean, necessary evil? I doubt it. In 2012, one of the biggest publishers in the United States, and I'm not going to mention any names, but it was EA, was voted for the most hated company in the United States, and then again it was voted again in 2013. Now, I understand why some people might have some issues with the policies of buying their beloved studios and then terminating them or just changing them until they are no longer recognizable. But, I mean, hating them more than oil, tobacco, and weapons company? I mean, it seems that we have two different rule books, one for game publishers and marketeers, and one for everything else. And I also think that the way we've been taught to think about things like business goals, monetizations, and marketing are undermining the same things that we care and love about in this industry, and we have to start changing that today, in this battle round.
Okay, great answers. Let's get a vote up for round 5, I guess. Round 5. All right, it goes to red.
Yes. My first lead.
All right. So, this is pretty straightforward, but what's more important, making money or game design? Who wants to start it? I'll leave it up to you two.
We can start it.
You want?
Yeah. I'm starting.
You want me to do it?
No, I'm going first.
Go ahead, yeah.
So, okay, so I guess that since I'm representing the marketing side, I have to cheer for money. So, I mean, money is really important. Can we all agree that money is really important? Because, I mean, society is giving us two different messages. One is saying that money is not important, or at least less important, and sometimes it's even considered to be dirty and not a worthy cause. And the other one tells us that marketing is basically the most important thing in the world. In sessions like this, by our business partners, and by our board members. And I think that sadly but truly, when it comes to business, money is the most important thing. I mean, we are here to make money and to generate revenue, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. And of course, we cannot do that without creating products that we believe in and products that we love. But, I mean, if our goal is to generate revenue, we have to keep our eyes on the ball.
Okay, good answer. Tom, what's more important, revenue or game design?
Game design.
If you say revenue, it's going to be a major cop-out.
Yeah. No, I mean, game design is the most important thing. I mean, games are entertainment, right? And so people are looking to play games for entertainment value. So you need to build something that is worth their time and entertainment. Otherwise, they're not going to stick around. And I think thinking about revenue in the beginning is short-sighted. Sure, you can put a game out there and put all the revenue hooks that everyone's figured out, and you can make a quick buck, but you're not going to last long. The game's not going to generate revenue over a long time. So you need to build a game that's going to retain users that people want to play, and then revenue will come. If you look at any game that's generating high amounts of DAUs every day, any game that is generating a lot of DAUs and has a good retention, you can figure out how to monetize, because that means people want to play the game. But if you don't have that, if the game is not fun, people are not going to stick around, and they're not going to want to give you their money because it's not worth it to them, right? So you need to build a game that is worthy of their entertainment that they want to play and eventually that they'll want to spend in. So you need to start focusing on the game design first.
Okay. Great answers. All right, so let's vote.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, man.
Huh.
I think that goes to blue. Look at that, that's like right down the middle. It's like literally right down the middle without counting them. So we have to we'll switch right now. Yes. What's the score? Oh, 3-3. All right. So. So I think what the sense we're getting from all this is clearly that both sides of the equation are very important. To be a developer today, you have to understand the game design side, obviously, or else you're not going to make a product that everybody wants to play. But at the same time, you have to understand how to get users into your game and how to keep them there and how to monetize them. So I think it'd be interesting if we switch sides real quick, so that Tom, you battle from the game marketing side.
All right.
Eyal, you battle from the game design side? Yeah?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I want that trophy.
All right. So this is a question that still comes up to this day. Has everybody here seen the switch from paid to free to play? I think a lot of people, especially people coming from console, have been doing it while keeping their fingers in the ground and trying not to embrace it. And then they don't embrace it and they release a game and they do it half-ass and it fails. So then they just get more angrier at the model. But it's kind of shocking that we're still talking about this, but the question is free-to-play inherently unethical? So going from the game design side, Eyal, why don't you go first?
So, presenting the design side.
The game design side.
The game design side.
Yes.
So free-to-play actually relies on making a very small segment of users addicted to playing the game. And we call those people whales. And you know, it's very easy to call them whales because it dehumanizes them. And we can look at them as whales instead of looking at them as people that are living from paycheck to paycheck. And you know, this all, and this entire segment is actually responsible for the vast majority of the incomes, and is actually funding all those other players that are playing for free. Now, whether it's ethical or not, that's basically a philosophical question. And I think we should ask ourselves whether these games are actually improving their lives in any way. And I think that the monetization method used in free-to-play games are not. So I do not think it is ethical, or at least not some of the method that we are using in a free-to-play business model are not ethical.
Okay, so he thinks some monetization practices are unethical and free-to-play. Tom, from the marketing perspective, is free-to-play
It's totally ethical.
easy.
Yeah. I mean, I actually do think it is ethical. I mean, free-to-play games has kind of changed the game industry a lot. I think more and more games are going to be, even possibly console games will start moving over into that direction. I think it's kind of the iTunes to CD change that happened in the music industry. Before, when you purchased a game, it was an upfront value, and maybe you saw a really cool commercial for it, paid $60 for a game, brought it home. Maybe the first level was good, and then the rest of the game was terrible. Just like when you buy an album for one song and you come home and the rest of the album was terrible. So with the free-to-play model, you have to make the game fun all the time, right? And you're getting constant feedback and analytics to see what players are doing, where they're dropping out. Okay, that's not fun. Let's rethink about that. Let's change that. And then the monetization structure that people are using in free-to-play is changing. People are learning how to do that, how to make revenue. I mean, we are a business after all, so we do have to generate money at some point. But I think free to play is developing. The games are becoming more complex. They're becoming deeper, and they allow for more people to play. Most console games were built for 13-year-old boys, but now everybody's got a phone. So you're seeing games built for everybody, right? And so I don't think free to play is unethical at all.
He wants a rebuttal.
I'll respond.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you said, it's about creating a very fun and engaging experience all the time.
Right.
But don't you think that free-to-play games are actually all about creating very shallow, but also very rewarding compulsion loops? And when you do that all the time, obviously some questions have to arise.
Yeah, I think the first version of free-to-play games were very shallow, and they're getting deeper. We're learning more every single day, and every game we make, and what works and what doesn't work. And if something is taking advantage of players, they're going to find out pretty quick, and they're going to complain, and people are going to back away from it. So, if you create value, people are going to want to spend, and the games are getting better and better and better as we kind of progress, as the capabilities of the phones get better as well. So I don't think they're shallow as they used to be, right?
Okay. All right, so let's get a vote. Great debate.
Who are we voting for?
What? Blue or red?
Okay.
Are you just starting the vote now? Like, where have you been?
No, but he switched. Because he switched.
Huh? Oh, right. No, hold it to the color. Hold it to the color. Sorry, that was
Apparently, I should move into marketing.
Oh, red. Okay. Great. Okay, so if anybody's been looking at the App Store recently, all the features from Apple have been Hollywood IP. A lot of them have, and if you look at top grossing charts, clearly a lot of people are licensing Hollywood IP. So the question is there becoming like an over-reliance on licensing Hollywood IP or well-known IP? And is this detrimental to game design innovation and kind of moving free-to-play forward? So actually, let's start with Tommy from the marketing side. Again, he's on the marketing side.
Since I'm making a Transformers game, I'm going to say that it works. But actually, it does. It's so hard to get users right now. There's so much competition that if you can have a brand that people are familiar with, it's going to help out so much. Compared to our other games, our branded games are bringing people in at a lower cost and bringing in more people because the fan bases are established already, and there's already a desire for these types of products. So definitely using a branded IP is a great thing. If you can get a hold of one, do it. It's fantastic.
Just do it.
Yeah.
That's a ringing endorsement if I ever heard it. All right,
Well,
Eyal, on the
I
game
agree.
design
It's
side?
definitely becoming increasingly harder and harder to get those users. And I think that using IP is definitely also a sign of distress. I think we've been there before. In the Java ME world, where everybody used to create games with IPs, so you had like Superman Tetris and then Spider-Man Tetris, and it goes on and on, the same cookie cutter creating the same type of games. And I think it also stifles innovation and creativity because it somehow gives you an excuse to create bad games. Whenever I see Superman on the cover of a game, I think, okay, this game is going to suck. And there is a reason to it, because most games that use those kind of IPs, they suck, because that's an excuse to create bad games. So, yes, it could have been used to create great games that people actually like, but in fact, what happens is that it doesn't.
The end. Okay, let's get a vote.
I disagree with that.
Oh, do you want to rebut?
Yeah.
All right, rebut.
I don't think it creates bad games. I think that what you're talking about is like movie games that come out day and date with a movie, and is like
As opposed to Transformers, that was not a movie.
Well, I'll get to that.
It was a series before that, like 20 years ago.
Most of these games you're talking about are games that come out with the movie, are extension of the marketing arm of the movie. So the movie studio is paying some studio to make them a game to come out in day and date with their launch of their movie. Ours is not based on the movie; it's based on the cartoon. And we don't have rights to the movie one. But I think, well, when you look at successful IPs like the Batman Arkham series, right, and such like that, those are games where they take the IP and they're given the artistic freedom to move away from a scripted movie, and that's when they're the most successful. If you try and make a game along with a movie, it's really difficult because they change the script and they edit the movie, 2 months before it comes out, and you've got to change stuff because it has to go along with the movie. But if you're allowed to take that product, and that's what you see in the top grossing right now, is these products aren't shipped with the movie. They're proven game systems using the IP. So I think that you're wrong.
So the Transformers movie rights are still available?
No.
Oh, all right. Okay, let's vote. Wow. All right, blue. All right, so
Thank you.
so does anybody in the audience have any questions that they want to ask? No? Yes? No? Yes? Why don't you say it loudly and I'll repeat it.
Hi. I want each of you to describe a scenario, and I'm going to try to make this twofold, so from your perspective, as a case study. Okay, you launched a game. You are down to 80% of your funding, and do you either release a new title that you have action at, like say it's a well-known IP, or do you scramble and try to take an IP you currently already have and re-innovate it, market it a different way to a different, perhaps targeted area? What do you do in this case study?
Okay. So do you guys understand the question?
So the options that we have, what are they again?
I think it's basically like you're running out of money
Yes.
on your existing title. Do you iterate on that one and try to make it a success, or do you go and start a new title? Correct? Is that an easier way to sum it up? And okay, so that's kind of goes back to that question, like who controls the budget?
Oh.
Who should control and who makes the decision on the budget of a title? And do you want to stay on marketing or do you want to go to game design?
I'll go to game design.
Okay. He's back to his right place in life.
So, I mean, it all depends on the KPIs of the game that's not doing well. If it's really doing bad and you're just bleeding out, because it's all, the LTV of your customer versus how much it costs to get a customer, right? That's the equation, right? So if you're way off on that equation, the most expensive thing in a company is people. And so figuring out where they're going to spend their time is the most valuable to you. So if that game is not doing well or performing well and you can't see anything turning it around, you should, definitely start something new and try and learn from the mistakes you made because.
Okay, so he's saying it's based on metrics.
Yeah, and I mean people's the most expensive thing. So if your game's not making money, get them onto something that has a chance of making money, of being successul.
Are you sure you don't want to let them do something that they love?
Yeah,
just let them do what they love doing.
Ask them what they love.
Why are we talking
and then have
about
them go
money?
make that.
So wait, is he going for? I mean, what are the sides now? I mean, I'm talking for game marketing or game design.
Game marketing.
Game marketing.
Yeah.
Okay, game marketing. I mean, we had a similar situation in the past. I mean, we had Ninja Chicken, which was #1 in the U.S. and basically all over the world, and it was starting to decrease and go down the charts. And also, we had to decide whether to keep investing in this game or to go to a sequel. And eventually, we decided to do a bit of both. So we invested a bit in Ninja Chicken, and we also created a sequel called Ninja Chicken Ooga Booga. That was a variation of the first game. So I think like everything in life, it's about finding the balance and trying to evaluate what you can extract from the assets that you already have, but how you can use them in order to create something that is new. And people are always on the lookout for the new and the shiny new thing, and you just have to give it to them.
Okay. All right, so let's get a vote on that question. A lot of people abstaining from voting all of a sudden. All right.
You have to vote. This is not an option. If you're here, you have to vote.
This is a democracy, people. All right. All right, so I think we have time for one last question. And maybe we'll end with this one. What are some common lessons that game designers can learn from marketers? And marketers can learn from game designers? So why don't you take that, Tom?
I can start. Common things marketers can learn. Huh?
Not up on the board.
I guess really the big thing is that now marketing and developers need to work together more than they ever had in the past. Where you get users from now matters. So the development team's going to have all the KPIs on how the game's performing, and then the marketing side's going to have all the information of where they're getting users from. And the two need to work together all the time now. They need to know where the users are coming from. If the KPIs change or your retention changes, what network we're using to get those users. If marketing is running ads or campaigns in your game to promote other games, how does that affect your game? So the two, more now than ever, need to work together hand in hand and be developing the game together and running the service together.
I would say maybe paying attention to details. Marketing is about the big picture, right? You have to know what are the business targets and goals and how you can make them happen. But now when things like monetization, for instance, are taking place from within the game, you actually need to know what it is that you're selling. And you have to be, I think, for instance, in PlayScape, everybody knows what's happening in all of the games, including the CEO, the marketeers, the business guys. Everybody is aligned with what's going on and what is being developed. And that's new. It didn't used to be like that. And I think there's a lot to be learned from the product guys, because this is what they're doing. I woke up today and I had a phone call with the product department, and there's a new game that's coming up, and they sent me, I think it was 100 pages design document. And they told me that I have to read it like in 15 minutes and then go on a phone call and talk about it. And as I was reading the document, I was mind-boggled by the amount of details that they have. These are really special people. So I think we have a lot to learn from these guys.
Okay. All right, so let's get a vote on that question. Go ahead. I think that goes to red. Yeah. Red? Where are we? Oh, man. All right, so this has to be the last question then. How about, instead of those stupid questions, how about you guys pitch a game that you think would do successful in the market right now, and then they get to decide which one they think would be most successful. And they can't involve Transformers, Tommy.
My Little Pony? A game that would do well now? I don't know. That's a tough question. I don't want to give away my great ideas.
I have a great idea. I want to pitch the idea to you, so you can take the time to think.
All right,
about something.
I'll think.
Okay, so I'm not going to do it really because it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be accepted in every country, in every world, in every continent. But there is an application that is really trending right now. That is called Get Taxi. I think it's called Hoover.
Uber Cab?
Yes. And the way you see the UI, when I use the application, there's like a map, and it shows you all the different cabs that you can basically order. And the one that is closest to you comes to your doorsteps. So what about creating a game that will be using real cabs, but they will not know that. And once you order a cab, what you have to do is run as fast as you can and disappear. and you win if you manage to escape the biggest amount of cabs in the city. What do you think?
I think you'll end up in jail.
And they will not find you because you're just that good.
Is it free to play?